So in this video, is the new DJI Mini 5 Pro the new powerhouse, or does that title go to the new DJI Neo 2? So in this video, I'm going to put both drones head to head to see which one is the best value for money and which one gives the best overall performance, and you may be surprised by my results. Anyway, my name's Andrew, thanks for joining me. I'd like to say from the start that I bought both the drones by myself. They're not sponsored by DJI, so if you do the like and subscribe thing, that would be great. And now we'll crack on with the video and see which one does actually come out on top. So I'll cover everything from the basics and then go on to photography, the videos, master shots, quick shots, and all the other things that these little drones are capable of. And then finally cover the pros and cons of both drones and give you my opinion on which one I think is the best value for money. Now both drones are super lightweight and they both build at being under the 250 gram mark. But in the case of the DJI Mini 5 Pro, this isn't the case. So in a lot of cases, it does weigh slightly more than the 250 gram limit, and that's going to put it into a new class. Whereas the DJI Neo 2 is way below this and comes in at 150 grams. So you know there's not going to be any regulatory issues with that. Now when it comes to battery life and flight time, then the Mini 5 Pro is obviously going to win hands down. It's got a build flight time of being 36 minutes as opposed to the DJI Neo 2's 18 to 19 minutes. But in reality, you're going to get round about 20-25 minutes on the Mini 5 Pro and about 10 to 12 minutes on the DJI Neo 2. But you need to remember that the Neo 2 is built as more as a selfie drone, and that's why you've got the shorter battery life, because you're not really supposed to fly it all over the place like you would with the DJI Mini 5 Pro. Now they both offer return to home features when the battery runs low or you lose signal, plus you've got the obstacle detection facility on both drones. So there they are pretty much level pegging. Plus they both got LiDAR sensors. And LiDAR sensors send out little pulses of light to measure distances between objects. So that's going to give you a better low light flight performance when you're using the DJI Mini 5 Pro, even though that the Neo 2 does have LiDAR as well. Now when it comes to wind resistance and stability, the Mini 5 Pro can handle winds of 12 meters a second, and the Neo 2 slightly lower at 10.7 meters a second. But you will get a better stability with the Mini 5 Pro because of this slightly heavier weight, plus you've got the 3-axle gimbal as opposed to the 2-axle gimbal on the DJI Mini 2 Pro. But in real life, they both tend to handle gusts quite well. Now when it comes to the gimbal, they both offer electronic image stabilization. But the DJI Neo 2 uses a 2-axle gimbal which stabilizes vertically and the tilt motion, and that's going to be great for quick clips and vlogging. So the Mini 5 Pro has a 3-axis gimbal, so you're going to get smoother pans and you're not going to have so much rotational shake when you are moving the drone quickly from side to side. So if you are looking for buttery smooth cinematic moves, then the DJI Mini 5 Pro is going to be the way to go. Also with the gimbal on the Mini 5 Pro, it's rotational up to 225 degrees. But that, in my opinion, is more of a gimmick. It's more useful just rotating from landscape to portrait because you're going to film in 4K in either aspect. Whereas on the Neo 2, the gimbal is fixed, and if you are cropping in from landscape to portrait, then the image is just going to be reduced by cropping as opposed to a fully rotational gimbal. So you are going to lose a slight bit of quality compared to the full 4K you're going to get on the DJI Mini 5 Pro. Now when it comes to range, the DJI Mini 5 Pro obviously is going to give you the longer range, and although it states that it can do 20 odd kilometers for the transmission range, you're never going to go that far. Also with the Neo 2, although the range is shorter, the battery is going to run out before you get more than about a mile away from your location. So the range where they state is going to be, I don't know, 10 kilometers or whatever, doesn't really matter because the drone's never going to get that far. The most you're going to get is about a mile before the battery starts to run low and needs to come back to you. But obviously bear in mind the drone is supposed to be kept with a visual line of sight anyway. Okay, so on to photography. Well, the DJI Mini 5 Pro has a 1-inch sensor and the Neo 2 has the 1/2-inch sensor. So straight away for photography, you're going to get a better image on the Mini 5 Pro. Now both will do 12 megapixel photos, but the Mini 5 Pro will go up to 50 megapixel photos. So that means you're going to get a better image quality, which is going to be sharper and more detail. And if you do want to crop in, then that's going to be ideal. They're both capable of shooting in JPEG, but if you've got the Mini 5 Pro, then you've got the option of shooting in RAW. So if you do want to go in and do any editing on the photos at a later date, you're going to have more scope on the Mini 5 Pro with the RAW format than you are just using a JPEG. But saying that, the file sizes on the Neo 2 are going to be considerably smaller, and you're still going to get good quality images from the Neo 2. Not quite as perfect as you would with a 1-inch sensor, but still very, very good and acceptable for things like social media. Plus on the Mini 5 Pro, you're going to get better low light performances. So if you are shooting at dusk or in the night time, that's going to be a big bonus. Now they do say that the best camera is the one you actually use. and the DJI Neo 2 is billed as a selfie drone. So for me, that wins hands down, because generally at heart I am pretty lazy. And the thought of getting the Mini 5 Pro out and folding it, getting the controller, putting in the sticks, waiting for it to connect through, flying it out, taking the photo, bringing it back, taking it all apart, folding it away and putting it all away in the case again is just too much effort to take a quick snap. Whereas with the Neo 2, I just launch the drone, put it into selfie mode, it takes the photos, it comes back and job's done. So for me, the Neo 2 wins hands down each time for flexibility when it comes to taking photos. But if you want to go into more in-depth photos, then you need to use the controller for both, because you haven't got any manual settings, just using the app for the Neo 2. So if you do use the controller for taking photos with either drone, you're going to have the facility of using the Pro modes, so you can control things like your exposure, your ISO and your white balance, which you can't do just using the app. So using the controller is going to give you a better overall image than just using the manual settings on the DJI Neo 2. And they both offer the aspect ratio of 4:3 or 16:9. And as I said, you've got JPEG or JPEG plus RAW if you're using the DJI Mini 5 Pro. But it all depends on how serious a photographer you actually are. Also, if you're using the controller on either, you've got a few extra features. So as well as a single shot, you've got time shots and burst shots. But if you're using the Mini 5 Pro, then you've got automatic exposure bracketing, where it'll take a number of photos again for you to process in things like Lightroom, and that's going to give you a better dynamic. And if you are using the Mini 5 Pro and you want to be more creative, then you've got the pano options. So you have got settings where it can do a wide shot, both horizontally and vertically. It can do a pano shot, and it can also do sphere shots, which will help you create tiny planets in the software as well. So you've got more versatility and get some more interesting shots and wider shots using the Mini 5 Pro than you will over the DJI Neo. Now, if you are using the Neo 2 for doing selfies, then you do have a few specific advantages too, because you can either fly it in manual using the app and then take a photo directly from that. You can use the follow mode, and then you just stop for 3 seconds and the drone's going to take a photo. Or you can do a selfie mode where the drone will take a number of photos at different angles and distances, whereas you don't get that final feature on the Mini 5 Pro. So you do have a lot more versatility on the Neo for taking selfies than you would on the larger drone. So this means if you just want to do photos for selfies and are happy with a good quality camera, then the DJI Neo 2 is perfect. If you are more serious and you want to get the top-notch photography with all the features that goes with that, then the DJI Mini 5 Pro is going to be the way to go. Now, they both take photos in vertical mode, but obviously on the DJI Neo 5, the gimbal is going to rotate, so you're going to have the maximum resolution and quality, whereas on the Neo, it's going to take a landscape photo and then it's going to crop that in, so you are going to lose a bit of resolution on that. And this is the point where I say I'm not sponsored by DJI. In fact, I had to sell my DJI Mini 4 Pro so I could buy the Mini 5 Pro to carry on making videos such as this. So if you are finding it useful, if you could do the like, subscribe and the notification bell, that would be great. There's also an option below for buy me a coffee if you'd like to do that. So I'll just crack on out with the rest of the video. So going on to the video mode. Well, the DJI Mini 5 Pro does push that 1-inch sensor against the half-inch sensor of the DJI Neo 2. They both will do 4K up to 60 frames a second in normal video mode, but on the DJI Mini 5 Pro, you've not only got the 30, 50 and 60 frame rates, you've got 24, 25, 48. So you've got 3 extra frame rates on the Mini 5 Pro as opposed to the DJI Neo. And if you want to shoot in slow motion, then the DJI Mini 5 Pro will offer 4K at 120 frames a second, and the DJI Neo will offer 4K at 100 frames a second. So you have got a slight difference there too. Plus on the Mini 5 Pro, you can shoot slow-mo in vertical, which you can't do on the Neo. You're going to have to go in and crop the image. Also on the Mini 5 Pro, you've got different color profiles, so you can shoot in 10-bit D-Log-M, whereas on the Neo 2, you've only got the normal color profile. But again, if you are shooting just for social media, then the Neo 2 is going to be great because you're not going to worry about going in and color grading your footage afterwards. But if you are more serious about your video and you like to go in and color grade it, then obviously the DJI Mini 5 Pro is going to be the way to go. Plus, as I said earlier, you've got the 2-axis gimbal on the Neo as opposed to a 3-axis gimbal on the Mini 5 Pro. So the image on the Mini 5 Pro is going to be that little bit better. If you're using the controller on the DJI Mini 5 or on the Neo 2, you've also got the option for cruise control, and that's going to help you get some nice smooth footage as well, because you can pre-program the flight parameters into the drone and it's go off and it'll go to film automatically. But on the Mini 5 Pro, you've also got the features of hyperlapses and waypoints, so you can set the drone up to capture a hyperlapse or time lapse. It's going to go off and do that automatically, although there is a way you can do it with a lot of post-processing using the cruise control option on the Neo 2. But with waypoints, you can set up a predetermined flight path and the drone is going to go off from point A, B and C, and it's going to carry out different settings and different shots at particular points. So if you are looking for something more creative, then the Mini 5 Pro does have a lot more options and more flexibility when it comes to doing complex shots. And as I said earlier, you've got the rotational gimbal not only in horizontal and vertical on the Mini 5 Pro, but it will go up to 225 degrees. But as I said, in my opinion, it's more of a gimmick and you'll soon get tired of using that feature. Now, both drones offer quick shots. And quick shots is a feature where the drone will lock onto a specific subject and then it'll perform a maneuver, be it a rocket or a drone or a helix, around that particular subject. So it's going to mean you're going to get smooth footage because everything's going to be automated and taken care of by the drone. Now, although they are quite standard across both drones, on the DJI Neo 2 you're going to get a couple of extra quick shot modes, and that's going to be the dolly zoom and the selfie feature. So they're going to give you two more creative options that you're not going to get on the DJI Mini 5 Pro. Plus, on the DJI Neo 2, you've got the new features of the cycling mode and also the skiing mode, which you don't get on the DJI Mini 5 Pro. Although if you're using active track on the Mini 5 Pro, you have got a cycling follow option, but it's not as good as being on the DJI Neo 2. Plus, as I said, you've got the master shots, and with master shots, the drone will take a series of quick shots and then combine them into one final montage. But if you're doing it on the Neo 2, you're going to have a shorter, more compact and limited master shots than you will on the DJI Mini 5 Pro. And also master shots on the Neo is only available via the app, not via the controller. And both drones do have the active track option as well, so you can track onto a subject using the controller on both, and it's going to follow that controller and revolve around it or do whatever maneuvers you want to around your particular subject. Now, both drones give you the option to track and follow a subject, and that's great for things like mountain biking or skiing. And I tend to do quite a bit of mountain biking, but I won't take my Mini 5 Pro with me, and that's for one reason. And that's because if the drone does crash, it's very likely it's going to get damaged. And unfortunately, the obstacle avoidance on both drones is not perfect. Prime example, I took this out a couple of weeks ago. I was going along a forest path. There was some trees. The drone was doing okay. Came towards the end of the track. It didn't notice some of the thinner branches and it crashed. Luckily, it landed on some grass, so it wasn't damaged. But if it had gone a foot over to the side, it would have landed on the gravel path and it could have been a totally different story. Whereas the Neo 2 is built for crashing. So I've got no issues that if I do go out and it crashes into a tree or it lands on the ground, it's not going to be severely damaged. Plus, on the Neo 2, you've got the added advantage of having the propeller guards, whereas the propellers are exposed on the DJI Mini 5 Pro. So it does crash. It is more likely to cause damage to the drone itself and whatever it is it's crashed into, be that a person or a vehicle or whatever. So the Neo 2 is going to be a lot safer in the event of a crash. Now, added to the fact that when you are using the Neo 2, you've got gesture controls. So it means that if you are out, say, mountain biking or skiing, you can just use your arms to control the drone. So you can bring it closer towards you, further away, move it to the left, the right, up or down, all by using hand gestures rather than using the controller. Plus, you've got the voice control options. So again, if you are using the app, you can tell the drone what type of maneuver you want it to do, and it's going to go and do that maneuver. You haven't got to worry about getting the controller out, setting up the shots, and then putting everything away. It's just a simple matter of launching the drone, telling it what you want to do, and it's going to go off and do it. And then finally, when it comes to controls, you've got the options of setting all the parameters directly on the drone itself if you don't even want to get the app out. So if you are in a situation where you're in a rush or it's going to be tight for time, then you can do all the parameters directly on the drone, do the maneuver you want and get it back. Again, a lot quicker and simpler than using the DJI Mini 5 Pro. So that's going to take me on to the pros and cons. We're looking at the pros for the DJI Mini 5 Pro. You've got the 1-inch sensor, so that's going to give you a better overall image quality. Plus you've got that low light capability, as well as different shooting modes, and you've got a higher frame rate for slow motion. Added to that, you've got the rotational gimbal. So you're going to have better image quality again because you're not cropping in on any images. You've also got the 3-axis gimbal, so that's going to give you smoother footage in some turns. And the 360-degree obstacle avoidance is slightly better. And then added to that, you've got things like the higher resolution on the photos, plus you've got different color modes if you are into color grading your footage after it's been filmed. And then finally, you've got the longer flight time and the longer distance and better wind resistance when you're out flying the drone. But the disadvantages are it's going to be longer to set up the drone. There's no quick modes where you can just go in and do it all nice and simply. You are going to have to spend time setting the drone up, launching it and then putting away at the end of the flight. Plus it's almost 3 times as expensive and it's a higher learning curve to being able to fly the drone and get the shots that you want. Whereas on the Neo 2, you've got the pros of you've got it really simple and easy to use. It's extremely light and quick to deploy, and you've got all the features directly at your fingertips for doing selfies and tracking shots without having to go through to using the app or any controller. So you've got a number of ways of controlling the drone, such as gesture or voice. Plus you've got some of the extra capabilities such as the follow mode for cycling and skiing, as well as dolly zoom and the selfie mode for taking multiple photos. But on the con side, it does have a shorter battery life and you're not going to have such a crisp image. Even though you're going to get a really good image, it's not going to be up to the mark of the DJI Mini 5 Pro. So really you need to decide if the drone's going to be right for you and look at who the drone's actually designed for. Well, the Mini 5 Pro is going to be designed for creators and hobbyists who want a pro-grade filming experience for making cinematic videos or travel logs, that type of thing, who want to be able to go in and fly in harsher conditions with stronger winds and have more flexibility when it comes to doing things like color grading, hyperlapses or predetermined flight paths. Then the Mini 5 Pro is going to be absolutely ideal for you. Whereas if you're just a casual creator doing video logs, doing a lot of selfies for social media, and you want something which is going to be quick and easy to deploy, then you haven't really got to go in and think about what you're doing because the drone's going to take care of everything for you, and you're more on a budget, then the DJI Neo 2 is going to be the obvious option. And plus, if you are doing more extreme things, such as skiing or cycling in more challenging environments, then the DJI Neo 2 may still be a better option because, you know, if it does crash, it's going to just bounce off. It's still going to be working, whereas the Mini 5 Pro is going to cause a bit more damage and can be a lot more expensive to replace. So as I said at the beginning of the video, which one is going to be best? Is it going to be the flagship Mini 5 Pro or the new, lot cheaper Neo 2? Well, if you're looking for someone for the top-notch image quality and top of the range flight features such as waypoints, hyperlapses, slow motion, then obviously you want to go with the DJI Mini 5 Pro. But if you're someone who's just looking for casual imaging for vlogging, for social media, selfies, then the DJI Neo 2 is going to be hard to beat. Now obviously I have both drones, and for me, I very rarely these days take out the Mini 5 Pro. I find the majority of my filming is actually done now using the Neo 2 just because it's so easy to use. It gives me all the options for doing the automated shots like selfies, plus I can just do the more complex shots using the manual control via the app if I want to, because I'm not really going to fly the drone more than a few hundred meters from me. So there's no real need for me to go out and set everything up with a Mini 5 Pro. I will use the Mini 5 Pro if I am doing a lot of shots involving scenery, but the majority of the time I'm not doing that. It's more shots just around the local area where I am, and for me the DJI Neo is absolutely perfect. I can't really fault the drone because it does everything I want. It follows me, it does all the automated shots, and if I crash it, it's no big deal because it's just going to be able to pick it up and carry on. So really the DJI Neo 2 for me personally wins over the DJI Mini 5 Pro. So that's it. If you did find it useful, if you could do the like, subscribe and the notification bell, that would be great. As I said in video, I'm not sponsored by DJI, so having the subscriptions from yourselves is going to be really important because it does help the channel to grow. If you've got any questions in relation to the DJI Mini 4 or the Mini 5, the original Neo or the Neo 2, or the Hover X1 Pro or Pro Max, let me know in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them, and I'll catch you again next time. And until then, thanks very much for watching and bye.